Well, hello, Stampers. It's the Pampered Stamper, and happy Tuesday to you. Tuesday means that it is my stories and stamp series, and I'm telling the love story of Mum and Pup because it is the prelude or the prelude to the love story of Jackie and Gerard. And the last time I left off, I was talking about Pup's proposal to Mum and how it was kind of a bit of a Romeo and Juliet story that they, instead of being from the wrong families, my mother thought that my father was from the wrong church. And so she was going to say no. And on the advice of her brother in law, she ran out of the door after my father and said, "Yes, Case, I will marry you." Now, this was a bigger yes than what most of us have to do when we say yes to a proposal, because not only was she saying yes to my father, she was saying yes to leaving her family behind. She was one of 14 kids, and she did not speak English, so she had to start immigration classes to learn English. And she knew she was going to go away on a boat, and she didn't know she'd ever see her parents again. So, in the flurry of all that, she also had a wedding dress to make. Because remember, I told you that when she was 11 or 12, she started Nijschool, which is sewing school, and she became a really gifted seamstress. So, she made a beautiful wedding dress, and I will share pictures when I get back home again. It was a big tulle skirt. It had a collar that stood up with little daisies on it. It was just beautiful. And she also, I'm pretty sure she had bridesmaids and did all that stuff too. But she didn't have a whole lot of money. So my father as well, he bought my uncle's wedding suit and his top hat, and he paid for most of the wedding actually. And when I look back at their old photo albums, they had a lot of wedding pictures. Now, most of them were really small, about 3 inches by 3 inches. And they also had some wedding pictures taken in a studio. But I asked who took all those pictures because it was pretty rare back then to have so many wedding pictures. Well, it turns out that Mom's brother in law, Omnique, who was married to her sister, Tante Bep, was a hobby photographer, and he had a good camera, and he took all those pictures. And one of my favorite pictures is a picture of my father with his top hat in his hand with a bouquet of flowers at my mom's door. And I learned later that that's a Dutch tradition. Dutch tradition is that the groom buys the wedding bouquet and delivers it to the bride's home in the morning of the wedding. So that was really cool to see. And after the wedding, oh yeah, the other thing about Dutch weddings is that there's kind of like two weddings. The family all goes to City Hall, and that's where they are officially married with a justice of the peace. And after they're married at City Hall, then they go for the church ceremony. And after that, they have um, a dinner, a reception. And it was really neat because with my mom, she wasn't quite a midwife, but she was yeah, I can't even think of the word for it now, the Dutch word for it. But what happened is my mom would come and help the doctor. Babies were born at home. Mom was the assistant. So maybe she was an assistant midwife. And then she would stay with the new mom and the family for 2 weeks afterwards. Mothers in Holland get spoiled even now. Someone comes to the house. They do light housework. They take care of the baby. They're wonderful. So that's what my mom did. And on the wedding, all her coworkers were there to say goodbye, and it was just beautiful. So that was their wedding. Now we're going to change. It's time for a little bit of stamping, and then I'll continue on the story. Okay. So I thought it would be fitting to show you this beautiful paper. Happiness Abounds is the stamp set, and then there's this die. Now I haven't used the dies yet. Um, I want to show you. We'll first go and look at the paper, okay? And after that, I'm going to show you how the dies work with the paper. It's beautiful paper. Let's see what colors are in here. Here, I'll keep this one laying like that so you can examine it. And then on the back of the paper, it tells you what the colors are. So I'll read them while you look at the paper. So it's Coastal Cabana, Daffodil Delight, Flirty Flamingo, Fresh Freesia, Gorgeous Grape, Granny Apple Green, Mango Melody, Melon Mambo, Mossy Meadow, Night of Navy, and Pool Party. Okay, so here we go. The best ones come at the very end, but this is really, really pretty paper. Here. And now I think I'm just going to lay this here for a minute and let's have a peek. I'm just guessing. I don't know if this one goes with this or not. No. No, no, no. Okay. I'm just guessing because I haven't used this at all. But this almost looks like, oh, yeah. Is that right? No, I don't think so. Okay. I'm not doing very well with this. I know that there's some dies that cut out flowers. Okay. We'll wait and see what happens with that. So let's try again here. Is this it? No. No, no, no. Okay, it's not that one. I should do my research first, right? But this is what happens when you first get some product. You don't really know. Now I know this. This is the bigger one. Maybe there's a little one too. This one does go. Now I think you just have to turn it till it goes right. Here. It can be tricky, these things. Okay, could drive you nuts. All right, I think I might have to watch a video. But I know that there is a die that cuts out these flowers. I've seen it. I've seen it mentioned. Is that it? No. Okay. Am I giving up yet? What about this one? No. Okay. Pretty paper. I know it works. I'll show you later. Here, and now we have this one with the pinks and the yellows. There we go. See, I knew it. And then there's another one. But this one looks like it has a stem, doesn't it? That's too big. Well, this big one is definitely cut out with that. That is correct. We'll figure out the rest later. And then here we have another ombre section. All right, we're going to go back to here. Okay, so after the wedding, my parents had about a week where they could say goodbyes to everybody and visit my mom's grandparents were still alive, and they had packing to do. Mom actually sold her wedding dress so that she could buy her trousseau. And I was hoping to talk to her before this video, but I remember she had 12 of it. That was the thing back then. You had to have 12 of everything. 12 towels, 12 tablecloths, 12 sheets, 12 pillowcases, the dishes and the cutlery, and all that stuff came with from Holland. And that was what she used it, because traditionally what Dutch brides did was they saved their wedding dress and they would cut it up to make their baptism dress, their christening gown. But Mom didn't do that because she sold her wedding dress. So yeah. And so what happened is that they left on a ship called the MS Maasdam out of Rotterdam, and the family came with to say goodbye. We have pictures of them all. And then a lot of other people, they went to the pier in Hoek van Holland, because when the ship left from Rotterdam, it would pass through the water, the channel, right past Hoek van Holland. So everybody from Maasdijk, all the townspeople were all there waving goodbye, because Mom was a much loved citizen. She was 26 when she got married, and Pop was 31. So they got married in May. So Mom turned 26 in April, and Pop would be 32 in November. So they were considered to be, my mom was considered to be an old maid, and my dad a confirmed bachelor. So it was a really big deal that they got married. And so they got on the MS Maasdam, and there's pictures of them sitting in teak chairs. It looks like something out of the Titanic on deck. The thing is, Mom got super sick on the way. I think just 24 hours that she was really, really sick. And then they landed on Pier 21 in Halifax, and that's where the story is going to continue. Yeah, but we're going to do a little stamping, and this time I'm actually going to stamp, okay? Let's have a look. Here we go. All right, so I'm not going to do the die cutting with the dies because I haven't, as you can see, I haven't quite figured it out. But there's the die. We've got the stamp apparatus, and let's get some stamps. So we have these are all cut out with the dies as well. See, this one is the one with the little stem, and then we have some words. So let's have a peek. And what you can do, and I think what would be really nice, is to stamp these flowers on that pattern paper. So I'm just going to lay it like so. This does go almost to the end. I guess I can go over a little bit more. There. Lots of flowers. My mother's bouquet had a flower called Stephanotis. And I guess that flower is used so often in Holland in brides bouquets that it's actually called the bridal flower. And I have one now, and I found out mine dropped all of its leaves. And I wondered why. Not its leaves, its flowers. I bought it in full bloom, and all the flowers fell off. Well, it turns out that you cannot move this plant when it is in bloom, or it will drop all its flowers. Okay, let's have a peek. I'm going to close that up. And I'm just going to stamp them all in Memento Black instead of using a color. Okay, let's have a peek. See here. So yes, as soon as so if you buy that Stephanotis in a greenhouse and then you take it home, you've moved it. So then it goes into shock and it drops all its flowers. So I've learned that. Now, mind you, mine is now getting new leaves. Apparently, it's like a plant that loves humidity. So you're supposed to put it on a bed of pebbles or mist it regularly. So I'm going to, now that I've done a little bit of research on this plant, I'll be able to take care of it better. And I'm hoping that I can get it to bloom again. That would make me super happy in honor of my parents. So, oh, I moved a little bit. That's a bit double. Okay, I'm just going to turn it this way. I mean, it doesn't look nearly as nice as it could have if I would have stamped properly. I probably didn't let it fall. And, okay, let's see what these words are going to say. I wonder if I've got some of them upside down or not. I hope not. Oops. Photopolymer stamps, when you first use them, they are super sticky. They'll stick to your fingers like you have no idea. Here. Come on. I'm not going to worry about them being straight. Here. There's a lot of stamps in this stamp set. Oh, this is a really pretty happy birthday. And there's two more. I'm getting really close to the hinge, which I don't like, so I'm going to put this one up here. I think that one says congratulations. We're going to find out. So, well, I guess I can keep telling the story. So when my parents landed in Pier 21, then they knew that they were going to Manitoba. I'm just going to turn this around. And so they had to take the train. And they were not in first class on this train. So my mom said they had to sit on hard wooden benches. And the train went on and on and on. She said they were on the train for 5 days. And the longer they were on the train, the quieter my father got. And my mom was thinking, like, you know, all the fun of being on the ship was over. She was in another country. They were all speaking English that she could barely understand. And she was in a country far, far, far away from home. And my dad got quieter and quieter and quieter. But the thing is, so when I asked him later, I said, Pop, why were you so quiet on the train? And he said, well, the whole enormity of it all was sinking in that I was responsible for this woman. Look at that. Isn't that nice? So wishing you all the happiness you can imagine. You are wonderful in every way. Friend, best wishes, happy birthday. Sending many thanks for all you do and congratulations. And so Pop was just like overwhelmed by the enormity of the responsibility. He had to start a new life. I don't think they had a house yet in Manitoba. They had to buy a house. And yeah, so he was just a little bit quiet, and that was kind of scaring Mom a little bit. But I think that was one of the hardest few days of their life was that train trip from Halifax to Manitoba. And so they lived in Manitoba, a little place called Beau Séjour, which means nice stay. And I've never been there. Beau Séjour, Manitoba. I think it was about an hour from Winnipeg. And they lived there for 2 years because Pop's dream, of course, was to be a farmer. So he worked in the peat moss and he worked his tail end off, worked so hard. They were the first ones out of bed in the morning. His brother, Marinus, actually came and immigrated as well. So he had one brother with him. And together they worked in the peat moss industry. I'm going to change this to here. And their goal was to work as hard as they could. So they were the first ones up in the morning and they were the last ones to finish because you got paid by how much you harvested. It was piecemeal work. And the goal was to save money so that he could buy a farm. So they went on a trip to Ontario on a research trip to see if they could find some good farmland. And then my sister was born in 1959, a year later in April of 1959, and then my brother was born in August of 1960. And in that fall, October, November, they drove from Manitoba to Ontario. And my parents drove through northern Ontario, and my pop was driving a truck with a trailer behind it. And oh, Mom said it was so scary. Driving, the roads were icy in northern Ontario, and they were driving down hills, and then that trailer would start to swing a little bit, and she was just praying for their life. So scared. And they ended up in a tiny little town called Bellwood, which is about 15 minutes from Fergus, Ontario. And they were warmly welcomed by a congregation there, a church family that welcomed them in. And they lived in Bellwood for 2 years, I think, before they found the farm that I grew up on. So that's where we'll leave off. Next week, we will start with my life on the farm and my very first trip to Holland. Aren't you excited to find out more? All right, well, thank you for joining me. I hope you have a super day, and I will do some more with this stamp set. I'll actually stamp on the pretty paper and find out exactly what all those dies are for. Okay? All right. Bye bye.